Hi, I'm Mark, 35. And I never thought my own brother would manage to ruin my marriage, destroy our family, and then come crawling back asking me for help. But that's exactly what happened. To understand how deep this runs, you need to know, my younger brother David was always the golden child. Mom doted on him like he hung the moon. She cooked for him, did his laundry, covered for him at school. I was the independent one. Translation: the one nobody bothered helping. If David spilled juice, it was boys will be boys. If I forgot to take the trash out once, I got a 30-minute lecture about responsibility. He was the sun, and I was whatever planet had to stay quiet so he could shine. It started small, little cruelties. He'd sneak into my room, read my diary, tell Mom what I'd written. Put stones in my cereal once, nearly chipped my tooth. When I complained, Mom just laughed. That's how brothers bond. When we fought, he went straight for the jugular. Loser. For ice. Monkey. Once, during a bad patch when I was struggling with depression, he told me to kill myself. That one stuck. I never forgot it. Dad was rarely around, business trips, long hours, but when he finally caught David trying to set my hair on fire in high school, everything changed. For once, Dad didn't laugh it off. He exploded. Threatened to call the cops. David froze. He'd never seen real consequences before. That was the first time I saw fear in his eyes. And the first time Dad really looked at me, like he saw me as more than the quiet, invisible kid in the corner. He apologized. Enrolled me in MMA classes, said I needed to stand up for myself. And I did. 3 months later, when David stole my saved-up cash for a date, I punched him in the face and took it back. He cried, like a toddler who dropped his toy, and Mom still scolded me. But Dad backed me. And for the first time ever, David realized the balance had shifted. He couldn't bully me anymore. From then on, the physical stuff stopped. But the hatred didn't. It just went underground, colder, sharper, waiting for the right moment to strike. And years later, he'd find that moment. By the time I left for university, I thought I'd finally escaped David. I'd earned a scholarship, the first real thing that was mine. Dad was proud. Mom pretended to be. David didn't even show up to say goodbye. He just muttered something about nerds wasting money on books. Fine by me. I was free. At university, I built a new life. Friends who actually respected me. Classes I loved. No one to sabotage my food or burn my hair for fun. And that's where I met Karen. She was smart, funny, and kind in a way that disarmed me. After years of being mocked, I didn't know what to do with kindness. We got close fast. By senior year, she was pregnant, and since we were both raised traditionally, we got married right after graduation. I was terrified and happy all at once. We had a simple ceremony, a small apartment, and big dreams. For a while, everything felt peaceful. Even Mom seemed proud of me, calling often to talk about the baby. Dad started visiting again. And David? He was quiet. Too quiet. I assumed he was finally maturing. When I brought Karen home for Thanksgiving that first year, David was oddly polite. Charming even. He helped set the table. Asked about her work. And Karen, being the kind of person who always tries to fix broken things, thought maybe she could help us reconnect. She started inviting him to things. Movie nights. Board games. Even asked him to join us on family outings. I didn't love the idea, but seeing him act civil for once was refreshing. What I didn't know was that every bonding moment she arranged was actually David's perfect setup. He'd sit next to her when I went to grab drinks. Make jokes only she laughed at. He'd talk about how lonely he was, how misunderstood. Karen would listen. She always listened, and I, idiot that I was, thought, finally, my brother and my wife are getting along. Then came Christmas. Karen stayed with my family while I finished some work projects out of state. She insisted she'd be fine. I told her to call if she needed anything. She called once, New Year's Eve, just to say she missed me. Her voice was weird that night. Tight. I didn't think much of it. When I came home, she was distant for a week. Then everything went back to normal. 2 weeks later, she found out she was pregnant. I remember her crying, happy tears, and saying, "You're going to be such a good dad." I believed her. I wanted to. And for years, I never questioned it. But truth has a way of surviving in the dark, waiting for the right moment to detonate. It was 11 years later when everything came crashing down. Our son Henry had just turned 10. We were in a good place, or at least I thought so. A nice house, stable jobs, a family rhythm that finally felt steady after all the chaos of my childhood. Then one night, Karen sat me down at the kitchen table with a look that made my stomach twist. She said, "Mark, there's something I need to tell you." My first thought was cancer. Or some kind of illness. But then she said flatly, "I've been having an affair." It was like time stopped. The fridge hummed. The clock ticked. I didn't blink. "With who?" I asked. She hesitated, and that hesitation told me everything. I didn't know who, but I knew it wasn't just anyone. Then she said his name. "David." At first, I thought she was lying, trying to hurt me. But she didn't flinch. She just looked down at her hands, twisting her ring. My chest went cold. "What do you mean, David?" I asked. She told me everything. How they'd gotten close that first Christmas. How he'd opened up to her. How he'd flirted when I wasn't around. How she'd brushed it off, until she didn't. It started as emotional support, she said. Then, a mistake. But the affair had gone on for years. I asked the question that had been building in my throat like acid. "Is Henry mine?" Her face crumpled. "I don't know," she whispered. It felt like my whole world flipped inside out. The son I'd raised, the family I'd built, it all cracked in a single sentence. Karen admitted that the first time they slept together was that Christmas I'd missed. She'd been staying at my parents' house, helping my mom in the kitchen while I was working. David had been heartbroken from some breakup, drunk, vulnerable. She said it just happened. Then it happened again. And again. And somehow I was supposed to just understand. I remember pacing the living room, unable to process words anymore. "You kept this from me for 10 years?" I asked. She said she'd felt guilty every day. That she wanted to tell me, but didn't want to ruin our family. I told her that ship had sailed. When I asked if she and David were still involved, she froze. Then she nodded. Quietly. Almost shamefully. Turns out they'd never really stopped. Business trips. Overtime excuses. Girls' nights. Half of it had been David. The other half was her lying to me. Again, I don't remember packing my bag. I just remember standing in the doorway, staring at her, the woman I'd built my life around, and realizing she'd chosen my worst nightmare over me. She started crying, saying if I loved her, I'd fight for us. But I wasn't going to fight for someone who'd already left. That night, I checked into a hotel with nothing but my wallet and a change of clothes. And the next day, I called my parents. Because I wanted them to hear it from me, before David had the chance to twist it into something else. When I called my parents the next morning, I didn't even know where to start. Mom picked up first, chipper like always, until she heard my voice. "Mark? You sound off. Everything okay?" "Not really," I said. "I just found out Karen's been cheating on me. For years." "Oh, honey," she gasped. "That's terrible." "With who?" I paused. "With David." Silence. Like the line went dead. Then, softly, "That's not funny, Mark." "I'm not joking." She inhaled sharply. Before she could speak again, Dad took the phone. "What happened?" he asked, voice low and dangerous. So I told them. Everything. The affair. The lies. The pregnancy. The possibility that Henry might not even be mine. Mom kept interrupting. "That's not true. David would never. She's lying." But Dad stayed silent. When I finished, I said, "You don't have to take my word for it. Call him." Dad didn't hesitate. "Put it on speaker." So I did. I dialed David, and the moment he picked up, I said, "Karen told me everything." He laughed. "What are you talking about?" "The affair. You and her. Don't pretend." "I don't know what kind of lies she's telling you," he said, defensive. I glanced at my parents. They were stone-faced, listening. "Funny," I said, "because she remembered details. Dates. Trips. Even the fact that she got pregnant after that first Christmas at Mom and Dad's." The silence on his end stretched too long. Then he said, "She's a liar. She throws herself at men. You know how she is." "Wow," I said. "So it did happen." He went quiet again. That's when Dad's voice boomed through the speaker. "David." You could hear the blood drain out of his face. "Dad?" "What?" "Don't talk. Just listen." I'd never heard my father's voice like that. Cold, controlled, deadly. "You didn't just betray your brother," he said. "You betrayed this entire family. You slept with his wife, fathered his child, and lied for years. I don't want excuses. I want you to understand you are done." "Dad, please." "No," he snapped. "You're cut off. College fund, living allowance, everything. You want to act like a man? Start living like one." Mom was crying quietly in the background, torn between denial and humiliation. David tried to stammer something about Karen manipulating him, but Dad hung up mid-sentence. Then he turned to me. "I'm so sorry, son," he said softly. It was the first time in my life he'd ever called me that way, with pride, not formality. Mom came over, trembling, and hugged me. For years, I'd wondered what it would take for her to finally see David for who he was. Now I knew. It took the unthinkable. The next day, Dad hired a lawyer for me. Karen and I began the divorce process. A DNA test confirmed what I already suspected. Henry wasn't mine. That hurt more than anything. Not the betrayal, not even the lies, but realizing that every bedtime story, every scraped knee, every "I love you" dead, had belonged to someone else's son. And that someone else was my brother. The divorce was brutal. Karen's lawyer tried everything: alimony, property, emotional damages. But the DNA results destroyed her case. And when my attorney brought up the years of deceit and infidelity, even the judge couldn't hide the disgust. She walked out of that courtroom with nothing but her suitcase and a reputation scorched to ashes. I thought that would be the end of it. But pain doesn't end cleanly. It lingers. I'd wake up at night, half expecting to hear Henry's footsteps running down the hall, calling me Dad. Every time my phone buzzed, I half hoped it was him, before remembering I'd cut off all contact. People judged me for that. Some said, "He's just a kid." They didn't understand. Seeing Henry meant seeing David. The same eyes, same smirk, same jawline. He was a mirror of my brother, and I couldn't live looking into it every day. Mom tried to convince me to stay involved. Said Henry didn't deserve to suffer for his parents' sins. But I couldn't do it. I told her if she wanted to play grandma, fine, but count me out. That's when Dad made his move. He called me one evening and said, "I've decided to change my will." I thought he meant some paperwork thing. Then he said, "David gets nothing. You'll inherit everything, around $2 million in total. I'm done pretending both of my sons deserve the same legacy." I didn't know what to say. I never asked for revenge. But I wasn't about to argue either. "Are you sure?" I asked. "Absolutely," Dad said. "He needs to learn that actions have consequences." It was the final nail in David's golden child coffin. The favorite son was officially erased. Then last week my phone rang. A known number. I almost didn't answer. But I did. "Mark," the voice said, shaky, desperate, "it's me. David." He started babbling about how hard things had been. How our parents wouldn't take his calls. How Karen was demanding child support and threatening court. How he dropped out of college and couldn't find work. He said he was just trying to survive. And then he said it, "I need your help." For a second, I didn't speak. Then I laughed. I couldn't help it. "You need my help?" I said. After everything you did? Mark, please. I made mistakes. I was stupid. No, David. You were cruel. You destroyed my family, and now you're paying for it. He started crying, actual sobs, but I didn't care. You wanted to act like a man? Figure it out, I told him. You should have thought about this before you crawled into my bed behind my back. He shouted that I was being unfair. That Karen seduced him. I said, you're right, she's a snake. But guess what? I divorced her. You kept her. Congratulations, brother. You won the prize. He was still sobbing when I hung up. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel anger. I just felt empty. Because even though he'd ruined everything, even though I'd won by every measure, I realized I didn't actually want revenge. I just wanted peace. But peace doesn't always come easy. Especially when your brother's tears start to sound a little too much like your own from years ago. It's been 5 months since that call. 5 quiet, surreal months where, for the first time in my life, my brother's chaos wasn't part of my daily existence. Dad and I talk every weekend now. We even go golfing together, something we never used to do when I was younger. He treats me like an equal, not just his quieter son. Mom still misses David, though she won't say it out loud. She tried calling him once. Dad found out and told her point blank, if you talk to him again, we're done. That was enough to end that. I don't bring up David. Neither does she. It's like we've all silently agreed he's already gone. But I still think about him. Not the grown man who destroyed my marriage, but the kid who used to steal my cereal and laugh when I got blamed. And I wonder if that kid ever had a chance. Maybe all that favoritism, all that indulgence, warped him beyond repair. Last I heard, he's living with Karen. He dropped out of college. Works part-time at an auto shop. They're raising Henry together, the son I once thought was mine. When I first heard that, I felt something ugly twist in my gut. Not jealousy, just disbelief. Like fate had a sick sense of humor. But then it faded. Because they deserve each other. Every sleepless night, every fight, every bill, all of it belongs to them now. Not me. As for me, I'm good. I got promoted 2 months ago. My salary's up, my life's calm, and my apartment is finally starting to feel like home. I even started therapy, something I should have done years ago. Turns out, peace takes work too. Sometimes people online ask if I regret cutting Henry out completely. And the honest answer? I don't know. Maybe someday, when he's older, when he starts asking his own questions, I'll be ready to answer them. But right now I can't. Because Henry isn't just my brother's son. He's the living reminder of the day my family imploded. And until that scar fades, I need the distance. I saw David's name pop up again last week, a text this time. Just 3 words. I'm really sorry. I stared at it for a long time. Then I deleted it. No anger. No satisfaction. Just finality. For 35 years, I was the forgotten son, the quiet one in the shadow of the golden child. And somehow, the world turned upside down and made me the one who inherited peace, respect, and $2 million. But here's the thing. The money doesn't feel like victory. Freedom does. Because for the first time in my life, my brother can't hurt me anymore. And that, after everything, is worth more than every cent he'll never see.